Hey there, it's BoardGameDave. Today we're looking at 10 of my favorite lightweight games that you can play right now on BoardGameArena. BoardGameArena is a free website where you can choose from hundreds of games and play them online with people around the world or with your friends. All of the games I'll be showing you today are relatively lightweight, meaning you can learn them and get started playing in just a matter of minutes. Let's start with number 10, Spot It. Spot It is an extremely simple game consisting of 55 circular cards with a variety of icons on them. Each card has exactly one icon in common with every other card in the whole deck. So every player starts with one card and then there's kind of a stack in the middle. And the whole point of the game is to look at your card and the card in the middle and click the icon that matches faster than everybody else. So let's say we've got a situation like this. I've got my card over here and then the pile over here, right? And I'm looking for the icon over here that matches over here. Of course, it's the eyeball. So I would click that eyeball and I get the match, okay? Next card comes up. Now I'm looking for this one and this one. I see cactus, turtle, eyeball. I am not, there it is. It's the music, it's the treble clef, right? So I would go ahead and click that, but maybe somebody else gets it first, right? And then they take the card. Next one comes out, I'm looking. I don't have the apple, snowflake, the clown, right? So I hit the clown. Like that. That's how the game works. Number 9, Can't Stop. In this game, you're trying to get your climbers up to the top of this mountain using various routes. On each turn, you're going to roll 4 dice and see what pair combinations you can make with those dice. So maybe like 7 and 11 or 2 and 9, for example. Once you choose your combination, you're going to move your climbers up those 2 tracks. So 6 and 7 or 5 and 7, for example. The problem is you can only have 3 climbers going up the mountain at once. So at some point, you're going to roll dice like maybe roll 3 1s and a 2, right? And the only numbers you can make are 2s and 3s, and you already have 3 of your climbers up on the tracks. So you lose all the progress you made that turn, and then the next person goes. The idea is that you want to get your climbers all the way to the top of the route. If you do, you claim that route and you get a point, and everybody else on that track loses their progress, like they fall off the mountain, right? So the first person to get 3 points, right, claim 3 routes, wins. This is one of those push your luck games where you want to keep rolling and keep rolling and keep rolling, and if you're really lucky, you could roll 10 times in a row and be fine, or you could bust on your first roll, which really is awful. So very addicting. Hannah and I played this one day and she really liked it, and we kept playing it over and over again because it's so fun and so quick. Number 8, Sushi Go. This is a great card drafting game. So you start with a hand of cards, you pick one and you put it out in front of you. You pass the rest of your cards to your right and the player to your left passes you their cards. You look at those, pick one, pass them on and so forth until you're out of cards, and that's the end of a round. At the end of the round, you look at the cards in front of you and you're looking for sets or majorities. For example, you might have a set of sashimi or a set of dumplings, right? Or you're looking for majorities, like whoever has the most maki gets 6 points, so on and so forth. At the end of the third round, whoever has the most puddings gets 6 extra points. Whoever has the fewest puddings loses 6 points. It's that simple. It's really fun. You can teach it to kids. Sushi Go is a really great, light, easy family game. Number 7, Take 5 or 6 Nipped. I started playing this game because of a Facebook comment someone left on my last Board Game Arena video, and I kind of wish they hadn't, because this game is just as frustrating as it is addictive. In this game, there are cards numbered 1 to 104. Each player is going to get a handful of cards and 66 points. There's also going to be 4 cards out on the table, forming a sort of grid. On each turn, you're going to pick one card from your hand and place it face down in front of you. Once everybody's picked their card, you're going to reveal them, and from lowest to highest, you're going to place that card where it belongs on the grid. Now, here's how that works. Each card is going to go in front of the closest card to it that's lower than it. So this 23 goes in front of the 13, this 48 goes in front of that 26. So a couple things happen here. If your card is lower than any of the cards out there on the grid, you need to pick one of these rows and take all the cards in that row. And you lose a point for each bull's head shown at the top of the card. So if you took this row, you lose 2 points. Now the other catch is, if your card is ever the 6th card in that row, like this 85 is going to be, right? It goes here and you take all the cards to the left of it and lose that many bull's heads, which is painful. Like I said, sometimes very frustrating, but still really fun and really fast. Number 6 is a roll and write game called Railroad Inc. You are going to have this grid in front of you, 7 by 7, and it's got 12 of these exits, right? And what you're going to try to do is place rails and highways down on your grid to connect all these exits together, and the better you do that, the more points you get, and that's how you win. On each turn, a player is going to roll these dice, right, showing these different kind of configurations of highways and roads. and every player is going to draw on their board that, you know, one of these configurations. So railroad, railroad, highway, and then this little overpass thing, okay? There's 7 rounds. You roll the dice and you just draw these different shapes and configurations on your board, and at the end of 7 rounds, you see how well you did. That's all there is to it. It's really simple, a very peaceful kind of, you know, you're not in anybody's face, you're just kind of working on your little highways and railroads and seeing how efficient you can be. Number 5 is a game called Jaipur. I've got Jaipur right there. In this game, you are Indian merchants buying and selling and trading sundry goods in order to impress the Maharaja. On each turn, you're either going to take one of these goods from the supply, or trade for multiple cards, or take all of the camels in the supply, right? So he just traded for a bunch of those cards. What you can also do on your turn instead is sell, hopefully, sets of goods to take these tokens over here, which have lots of points on them. By selling bigger sets of like goods, you're going to get these bonus tokens, which give you bonus points. However, the goods are set up so that whoever sells those goods first gets more points. So there's this balance of wanting to just sell goods as quickly as you get them, but you sort of also want to save up and do one big sell action to get a whole bunch of bonus points. I should have mentioned that Jaipur is a 2-player game, and you're going to play multiple rounds because as soon as a player wins 2 rounds, they win the whole game. Number 4 is Onitama, another 2-player game and one that I mentioned in my 20 best family games video. Onitama is kind of like chess, except that each player only has 5 pieces, 4 pawns, and then their master, which is kind of like the king, right? And each of these pieces move the same way based on these cards. So on each turn, you're going to pick one of these cards and move any of your pieces according to this little chart. So, you know, diagonal to the left or off to the side, anything like that, okay? So you choose your card, you take an action, and then that card's going to end up eventually going to your opponent, and then they could on a later turn use that same card against you. There's 2 ways to win the game. You can either take out the opponent's king, or if you can get your king to the opponent king's starting spot, that's another way you can win. Onitama is a brilliant little game that you can teach very quickly, but has a lot of depth. Everyone that I've shown this game to has really enjoyed it, and I really love the way it gives you the same feeling of chess, but with much more streamlined gameplay. Number 3 is Downforce. In this racing game, you're going to start by bidding on one of these various colored race cars. So maybe I spend $12 million for this blue race car, for example, okay? For the rest of the game, you're going to play one card from your hand on your turn, which will move these different cars various number of spaces. Obviously, in the beginning of the game, you want to get your car to the finish line first. However, at 3 points throughout the game, there's going to be a betting phase where you bet on which car you think is going to win. Now, ideally, that would be your car, but if you notice, like in this game, that the green car is just taking off, maybe you'll bet on the green car to win, and you'll play cards accordingly, kind of moving up that green car, but maybe also moving your blue car along. This game is just fun. I mean, who doesn't want to spend millions of dollars on a race car and then race it around the track and bet on cars and try to avoid these elephants and snakes and antelopes or whatever? It's really, really great. Lots of fun, and it works really well on BoardGameArena. Number 2, Carcassonne, perhaps the OG tile placement game from over 20 years ago. This game consists of a whole bunch of tiles that have roads and fields and cities and maybe monasteries on them, and the game starts with just one of these tiles in the middle of the board. On your turn, all you're going to do is pick one of those tiles and then place it adjacent to a tile that's already on the board with the edges making sense. So like grass with grass, roads with roads. Well, let's take a look. So you see what I mean here. So the cities have to connect and the roads have to connect, so on and so forth, right? After you place your tile, you have 7 meeples, and you have the option of putting one of your meeples on either the road, which is going to score for long roads. You can put it on the monastery, which scores 9 points when it's fully surrounded by other tiles. You can put it on the city, which is going to score you for the size of the city plus those shields. And you can also lay down your meeple in the middle of a field or a farm, and then at the end of the game, you'll get that meeple back, and it scores 3 points for each completed city that it's adjacent to. That part's always a little bit complicated for me, but and that's the whole game though, right? You keep playing until the tiles run out, and then you do some final scoring, It's really fun, but there is a lot of strategy behind this game. And finally, let's talk about the crew. This game won a bunch of awards when it came out in 2019. It's very unique in that it's a trick-taking game, which is very standard, but it's cooperative. This game consists of 50 different missions, which start very simply and then gradually get more and more complex until at some point they're very, very hard to accomplish on your first try. So the objectives might be for a certain player to get all the tricks that round, for example, or for somebody else to get none of the tricks, or for everyone to get the same number of tricks, or for this player to get the first trick and then for this player to get the second trick, or for this player to get the green 7, things like that, okay? So it really ramps up in difficulty. This is the only cooperative game on today's list, and I wasn't sure how some of those co-op elements were gonna work on a virtual interface like this, but it actually works really well. There's a chat feature that you can use to communicate things without giving things away, and it's a really good way to collaborate and work with everybody to complete missions, and surprisingly, it really works well, and you can work together to complete missions with complete strangers, and you end up being a really good team. And those are just some of my favorite lightweight games to play on Board Game Arena. If you found this video helpful, please take a second to like and subscribe to the channel. If you want to know about 15 more amazing games that are on Board Game Arena, you can watch my other video right there. In the comments, let me know what your favorite lightweight game is, and in the meantime, have a wonderful week, take care, and happy gaming. Bye! Why do I talk so fast? I don't know. All right, cut straight to this. Okay, Dave, cut straight to this. Okay, Dave, cut straight to the... Excuse me. And you're gonna get like 3 1s and a 2, for example, and it's not gonna match with your climbers. Oh my gosh, this is not making any sense at all.